Yes, I have reopened New York cases because I've got somebody with a potential third or subsequent in New Jersey. The procedure in New York is different. It's a collateral attack, like habeas corpus, like that kind of stuff. A LORIC would be really hard to succeed, only because you got to remember New York's criminal. And so he's going to have the likelihood that you'd be standing there without an attorney is like shocking. You know, how could you be brought out from the tombs in the back in front of a judge? There's an attorney standing there all the time. You know, there's a public defender all the time standing there. It's a criminal case. It would be pretty nuts to not have an attorney at all. So that would be real tough to beat. There is, though, however, a weird kind of situation you can get into where if you can get a judge in New York to grant at least the reopening, okay, then you're kind of in this position where you have that reopened case, you're back, even if you know you're sort of going to lose. If you could temporarily grant them the reopening of it and then go get sentenced in New Jersey, I think you have an argument then that you're not a predicate for that. So there is this sort of weird legal maneuver you can do, and I have done.
Do they actually call it a habeas corpus in New York?
Yeah, well, it's 440 much. Yeah, their collateral attack, you know, it has to be based on some collateral issue. It can't be a regular appeal. You know, I still think it's important to come out of it without a criminal record, regardless of the license. Like, to me, I understand we all care about licenses, and that's a big thing. But to me, as a criminal defense attorney, dependent, you know, you've really got to assess whether that person, you know, how badly they need to drive versus not getting a crime, right? Do you risk, if they offer you an impaired, you don't, in my humble opinion, I mean, unless you got something great, you don't necessarily risk a criminal conviction. I mean, unless you're a CDL driver or something like that, you know, you don't risk that criminal conviction. You don't want a crime, you know, bottom line. Most of our clients are nice, normal, regular people who have real, you know, jobs, or they're young, and, you know, you don't necessarily want a crime. So I still think
you might have some other things you want. For example, you may have a, you know, you might be on probation.
Right.
Maybe you're trying to get an expungement of a New Jersey conviction, and this is going to screw you up in terms of, you know, not being able to qualify for an expungement or something of that nature. So I can see that there's a lot of collateral issues associated with that.
There's a lot of collateral stuff. I will say, you know, some pieces of good news are, because it's, you know, because in New York these are crimes, you know, that also means that things like speedy trial and stuff, which are not so common winners for us in New Jersey, are much more often successful in New York. So there are a lot of, I would say, hope is not lost, right? I mean, there are a lot of strategies in New York, you know, if they've got, you know, a good attorney who knows their stuff, specifically with regard to DWI cases, you know, there are a lot of strategies pre-trial that sometimes, I'm not, you know, not every time, of course, nobody's that great, but no, we're not magicians, but there are things you can do procedurally that sometimes result in getting rid of it in New York. I mean, we do dismiss cases that are over speedy trial time with like that. Like, you don't have to convince somebody, it just happens. If they hit 90 days, it's out.